Wednesday, right? Right?
Yes.
Facebook Live with me and Dr. Juicy Jill Stucker.
Woohoo!
She's actually here with us in the south of France as we get ready for the road to TED. Dun, dun, dun. We're doing our VIP speaker training, helping 6 of my very dear and near and close friends and colleagues as we get ready for TED Talks and keynote speeches and taking the world by storm. And someone just this weekend got a message that she is not allowed to stay silent anymore. Pretty sweet.
No more.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to go silence my phone. You can
Okay.
talk to the good people.
Hi there, I am Dr. Juicy Jill from LA, and the only reason I'm actually here is because of this amazing woman sharing her story a couple of years ago, and it really was only a couple of years ago that we met, and so much has happened, and I never would have thought that I would be sitting here talking, or let alone being on some stage talking to the world and wanting to do it, but I have clearly gotten the message that I am to do it, and I realize what an impact it has on people. Just sharing my story is my message.
Yes, it is. Sharing our truth is our message. Hello, Shelley, and hello, Naman. Om Shanti, everyone. And lovely to see you, Runa and Mona as well. So good to see our peeps. Runa, she just came back from Iceland. She was in Reykjavik just yesterday. So I really wanted to have this conversation about how the people we surround ourselves with can impact our health. Now, as doctors, she is a DO, a doctor of osteopathic medicine, and I'm just a basic run-of-the-mill MD. But we know that our social networks, the people that we hang around with, can actually impact our health. So there's this great Harvard study that so many of us are always throwing around about looking at, and they looked at thousands of people, mind you. If you had a friend who became obese, you had a 57% increased chance that you would also become obese during that same period. 40% for siblings and 37%. So if your spouse became obese, and what's interesting about that is it's not just because of our behaviors. Like, you go out with your girls, and if someone else is eating fatty foods, chicken wings and beer, it's not just that you do the same things as them. There's also these other effects. And so what was interesting about this guy, Nick Christakis, who at the time was at Harvard, is he also found that you could extend that beyond just health things. If you hang out with people who are happy, you tend to be happier. Same thing goes for hanging out with people who are sad. It's almost like there are certain diseases that aren't really contagious, and yet you can catch them just by being associated with those people. And one of the things that we have discovered is you can also break out of your fears and become more fierce if you start to hang around crazy juicy people or crazy people who like to be on stage. No, but I think that it's really important, because one of the things that Jill shared with me when we first met through Facebook, so we have a doctor friend in common, but we've met literally on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what I was saying, but I was talking about my experience with depression and anxiety. And you said to me, what, a doctor who would actually admit that, let alone on Facebook, right?
Absolutely. I remember it like it was yesterday, sitting in my bed in the morning, getting ready, and you were in the beautiful French Riviera talking about this, and I thought, wow. I had always thought I didn't want to say anything publicly about it because I felt I would be discredited as a physician and as a person. And I thought, how brave and courageous for you to be sharing that. And it really, literally unlocked my own prison that I had been in. And now I share it quite openly with, sometimes random people, because they need love too. But my patients, especially letting them know that they're not alone. And I've actually had them say, when I finally share an experience of when I had my hormonal changes happening, how I felt. I noticed like a little light go off behind their eyes, and they say, I felt so alone. And so that, it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving.
And the reason I wanted to bring that out is because for me personally, I didn't intend at the time to make my whole life around openly sharing my drama, because I was like you before. I thought that if people knew I was struggling with anxiety or depression, that they wouldn't think I was credible as a doctor. And when I came out for the very first time on the TEDx stage, it was for me. It was for me to just be like, okay, I just need to get this out once, clear the air, so that people don't think of me as that previous version of Andrea that was on TV. And then, lo and behold, I was starting to hear people like you saying, wow, I really recognize myself in your story, and it was bringing us together. And like you said, you didn't think that I was a weakling or lame or stupid. It's like, wow, that's really courageous. But most importantly for me, that level of self-acceptance, I find that it's a critical ingredient for healing.
Absolutely. I have a phrase that continues to recycle in my mind lately is that we have, as a society, and I have as myself, have had such emotional constipation. Sorry for lack of a better word, because we're not really taught to deal with our feelings or to feel our feelings. We're taught to shove them down so that we can just keep moving and keep functioning as a mother, as a physician, as a, whatever you do, because, our parents didn't talk about those things. Because they didn't have the tools. And so I find myself, getting more in touch with that and then being able to pass that down to my children so that a different level of emotional maturity is possible. So that people, especially my boys, when my boys cry, I just allow it. I don't offer to go, let's go get ice cream, let's push it down, I just allow space for them. And after, when they calm down, I say, thank you so much for showing me your tears. That is so brave of you. That's so courageous. Because I think, we as women are taught to shove it down, but even more so men. It's super not manly to show your emotions, and that's just not true.
Right. And because what we learn as kids gets perpetuated and passed down and down and down. And then it ends up ruining relationships because of this emotional constipation. And I think the thing that I felt a lot the very first time I would show my vulnerability or my quote-unquote weakness is I felt intense shame.
Absolutely.
I felt like, oh my God, I'm so worthless, I'm so useless. I mean, like the whole gamut. Like I literally... That for me is like one of the worst feelings in the world, that caving in of feeling such shame. But, I've been on this kick, as you know, with resilience and burnout, and telling people that experiencing burnout, experiencing any of these emotions is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you've been strong for too long. And if we could just let things flow and let it go, we'd be so much healthier.
Absolutely. I think it goes back to also who you surround yourself with, because some of these deep, dark feelings or shame that we have, if we share them with not the right person, it can make things worse.
Yeah.
So kind of really recognizing if somebody has that same energy that you would like to have, and once you actually release that, it's so liberating. And usually it's like, oh, that was it?
Exactly, because we hold that fear of judgment so much in our heads. But yeah, I'm glad you brought up the point of discernment. We have to really discern who we're going to share our stuff with. But this idea of breaking through our fears. So Dr. Juicy Jill actually broke through one of her fears and shared her truth in this book, Time to Rise, along with our other beautiful authors. 28 authors in here, including you, Gita. I see that you're here.
Hi, Gita.
And Charlotte, who shared in our other books, Magic and Miracles. And one of the things about sharing and opening up and then connecting with a new tribe of people is that we make self-acceptance and self-expression the norm. And so you probably didn't think a year and a half ago that you'd be sharing on TV and stages and Facebook Lives about your journey, and yet here you are, along with our other peeps who are flying in the next 2 days, getting ready for your first TED Talk, doing major keynotes, all about, I mean, really it is about your story. Yes, she's a medical doctor, and you'll be telling people about how they can have their own hormonal awakening. But talk to me about the journey that you took with accepting the ability to share your hormonal awakening with your patients and now with a wider audience.
Absolutely. And it's ongoing. It's layers, peeling layers. And anytime I have an opportunity to share with people about any of this stuff, it just feels so liberating. Now, I don't hide it anymore. I feel like the true me has come out, and I don't have any shame. I don't have any of that. So I'm able to actually look myself in the eye and the mirror and say, I love you. I love all of you. And I remember probably about a year ago doing that as an exercise. And it took a while.
Yeah.
And it brought tears to my eyes. And I never even realized that I didn't love myself and I didn't accept myself because I didn't know how. I never really was taught how. And I'm not saying, anything bad about my upbringing. I had a great upbringing. I think people were just not really in touch with talking about any of these things at that point.
Yeah.
And I'm able to actually speak to my parents now. I think I joke that they probably think I'm a hippie now. Like I'm doing all these things because
moved to California.
I did all the traditional things, high school, college, medical school, having to practice and everything. And it wasn't until 45 that I realized like who I really am, from the inside out. And it's just been an incredible journey, and relationships do change. That's something that has happened, which can be a little bit sad because we're constantly evolving, and you can kind of realize that old version of myself, I don't necessarily want to stay there. And I find that I'm feeling like that old version of myself if I'm around certain people, and so relationships will change a little bit, but.
Well, you bring up a good question because a good comment because Shelley had asked the question, what advice do you have for people who can't find their tribe or a safe place in their local communities? And as much as doctors and therapists bash the internet because it can be addictive and it can really wreck your self-esteem if you're always following all these glamorous people. But the reality is, if you connect with the right social networks, you can find people outside of your local community. I mean, look, she came from California. She was just in Reykjavik, and now she's here in the south of France. Like, we now have a global community as part of the Real Self-Love movement. But there are many people who go online and find these forums and Facebook groups and other groups where you can start to just meet people heart to heart without kind of the fear of face-to-face at first. So as much as it can be a little bit of a delicate balance, finding your way through social media, I think if you can tolerate being on the computer or your smartphone, you can find like-minded people in a variety of groups.
Or maybe you're the one to start one. I have noticed that if nobody's really talking about a certain subject that I'm interested in and I bring it up, the moment I start talking about it, it's as if it gives everybody else permission to talk about it. So there are people, I'm sure there are other people in your community that are wanting it as well, so maybe you're the one to lead the way.
Yes, well, Shelley is doing some of that already.
Yes.
With my healthcare partner, she's recently started a functional medicine consulting group, and so you'll probably be working with the both of us, Shelley, especially at Innate Vitality as we branch out and start empowering people. But I think this is the reason I also wanted to talk about kind of the health effect is because it's our mental perception as well. It's not just the social connections, it's what we think. So I don't know if you've ever heard this. Has anyone ever come to your medical practice and said, oh, I just can't lose weight. All the women over 40, they have this pudge around the middle. Or, oh, everyone over 50 gets arthritis. Have you heard that?
Absolutely.
And it's like, we can tell you genetically, there are very few things that are absolutely bound to come on at some magical age.
Mm-hmm.
And especially things like gaining weight and arthritis and such. If you think that, oh, everybody gets it, so I'm going to get it, then yes, chances are you will.
Yeah, I mean, the power of our vibration of our thoughts definitely creates our reality. And, you can actually think yourself well,
Yes,
too. That has a different energy as well. But just because something has happened in the past in your family, you're a completely different being from the inside out, and you have the ability to change those things, and you don't have to settle. I think the old thinking that was when our moms were going through changes is, okay, this is just the way it's going to be for the rest of our lives. And I was just sharing with Andrea this metaphor, since I was just in Iceland during the winter. I saw these beautiful waterfalls that were frozen. They were not flowing. And it was just like, that's just so weird. And for me, I likened it to, the female experience. And this can, kind of extrapolate to men as well. Just beings in general are designed to flow throughout life and not just stop at 40, stop at 50. You still have half your life left, at least, or more.
Yeah, exactly.
And you should be living a vibrant, sexy, juicy life, on the Riviera.
Yes.
You don't have to have the muffin top and the take-up knitting. If you like to knit, that's fine. But, there are other options, and kind of that's where surrounding yourself with people that know that there's another way to do things. It's not just pack it all up, you're done. You can go have a whole nother career. I actually remember in medical school, I did the traditional thing, and I started right out of college. So I think I was, 21 and, a doctor at 25, and I had no idea who I was. I thought I knew who I was. But I remember having people in my medical school class that were in their 40s. They had their life, and they decided, this is really what I want to do. And back to what you mentioned also about, kind of the difference with my specialty with osteopathy. It really is just kind of the way that we need to get back to as far as, treat the patient, treat the person, not the disease.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the person, listen to the person, listen to yourself. What is it I need? What is it that's really going on? And just because you haven't heard it in the generations past doesn't mean it didn't exist.
Yeah.
They just didn't talk about it. So I guarantee if something's going on with you, talk about it. Talk about it, with somebody that you feel safe with, or even, the forums that you can go on. And I guarantee there are others that are feeling the same.
Absolutely. And that's a big part of your message now is you are not alone. Even though many of us were suffering in silence, especially with all the shame, the reality is if you're feeling it, chances are there's somebody else out there who's experiencing it as well.
Absolutely. And my journey with depression started early. When I look back on things, people didn't really listen. I had, severe PMS, mood swings, and I got thrown, an antidepressant. It's clearly a hormonal issue,
right?
Yet was given an antidepressant.
Yeah, but I grew up in a world in medicine where I heard people say PMS is all in your head, but it's not real.
Mm.
Can you imagine? And thank you, Gita, for saying it's so powerful to listen to two doctors talking in this way. Thank you. I do. I agree with you, Gita. It's important because the whole paradigm of healthcare has changed. The type of medicine that you practice is really personalized medicine, where you're looking at one person. Yes, we're informed by the population studies, but what you have going on inside of you, your environment, your relationships, your genetics, your nutrition, all of that, your belief system, that's going to impact your health. That's going to impact every bit of what we might do medically.
And the other thing that I guess was never really fostered back then, is self-care, this whole idea of self-care. I don't remember my mom doing anything for herself. And I feel sad about that. My kids see me taking care of myself. They see me taking a bubble bath and lighting the candles. And it's because I'm doing that for me. So they realize the importance of that. They see me meditate. And they meditate with me because of Kita.
And her beautiful books. Yes. Yeah, and actually I had the opposite. So you didn't see your mom do that. I saw my mom do that. And as a kid, at first it irritated me that, she would be going out dancing, and she hosted Super Bowl parties and barbecues and all kinds of stuff. But as I became an adult, and definitely when I became a parent, I realized, oh my God, we have to model for our children healthy behaviors. And so I'm really grateful that, I became a serious meditator at university, but when I became a parent, that's when I went even deeper because it was like I needed something for me. And so much so that like your kids see you, my daughter has always seen me take my meditation breaks or my Pandora breaks. And even when she was like 5, if she could see I was in a grumpy mood, she'd be like, do you need to take a meditation break, Mommy? But she's right. But at least now today, she knows that exercise and yoga and eating right and, yes, meditation are all part of our self-care routine. And if we're feeling bad, there's no shame in just expressing it, looking for solutions, and first and foremost, trying to fix it ourselves before we have to go searching for some pill or some doctor. So Naman says, oh, what a confluence of 2 inspirational ladies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we just wanted to come on and say a hello and have this kind of discussion to see what other things you might be carrying around that you're willing to let go of. You can also check out Runa Magnus. She and our dear friend Nick Haynes wrote a book called The Story of Boxes, which is also about really liberating yourself from the boxes that you may have put yourself into, whether it's a health box, an age box, a gender box, what have you. I think this is, thankfully, with social media and with people like you being willing to share what has worked for you on your journey to self-liberation, it's helping other people realize, like, oh, wait, I thought I had to stay in this box forever. You mean I can go reinvent myself? I can be rebirthed? The Renaissance human that we are. Okay, that's a nudge to Jill and to Bruce Cryer. So many good things. Well, we will be exploring this in a documentary series that one of my dear friends, Solveig Þórarinsdóttir from Iceland, and some of our other amazing friends and colleagues from around the world. And in this documentary, I really want to showcase what it takes to get to that level of self-acceptance and so that we can truly thrive. Because in my medical practice, you've heard me tell this story before, with people who were with binge eating disorder and addictions, no matter what we did, there was always a certain portion of our patient population that didn't get better. And the thing that was common to all of them was a lack of self-love. They didn't feel that they were worthy of happiness or love or success. They didn't feel that they deserved all the attention that they were getting. And so I found that if you don't fully accept yourself, fully love yourself, not in an egotistical way, but just knowing that you are more than physical body. You're first and foremost, you are spirit. You are this divine spiritual being, and you're totally lovable. And so in this film and through the books that we're writing, we want everyone to sort of share their experience of how coming to a point where you could fully own your story, your past, the things that you're currently dealing with. That's part of this journey towards truly thriving. So that what you may even find that 2 people who have the exact same disease or disorder both get well using different modalities, whereas one may have worked fine with antidepressants and another not, or one with conventional medical therapies and another with holotropic breath work or shamanic plant journeys or what have you. I think we really want to show the spectrum of what it takes to thrive.
Well, and I was actually just thinking about this yesterday. Like, it is actually your duty, our duty, our one life that we have on this planet to actually thrive. And it's our responsibility to live our best life. And that does not mean living best life. But that does not mean, oh, good, I checked off all the boxes on my to-do list. Oh, I got all the laundry done. Yeah. Oh, no. The world is still going to spin if you don't get all the laundry done. It's actually going out there and, and traveling. I never thought that I would be traveling alone, and just enjoying every country that I'm in. It really is your responsibility to live your best life. And if you have that guilt about, the endless mother's guilt, which I have had, that your kids are going to be like, oh my gosh, she's out there having fun. Your kids just want you to be happy. Yeah. My kids are so happy that I am happy, that I have the light behind my eyes back. And I share my journeys with them. And it's actually teaching them what to do for themselves. And I hope that they are a better version, and they go and they do more than I have ever done.
Yes, we get to be that example of what we want to see in the world and definitely what we want to see in our children. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Dr. Juicy Jill, for allowing me to sneak you into Facebook Live.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Shelley, for your comment. She says, thank you for providing a platform for these important topics. It's my duty and my role in this world, I believe. And yes, it is wonderful so others will know about this being a work in progress and that we all have so much to give. So my friends, there you have it. This is your Wednesday little dose of inspiration. You are so much more than you know. Like, you have almost limitless potential. I want to say infinite divine potential within you to thrive, to recover, to bounce back, and to go out there and kick some booty in the world. All right? So thank you. Have a fabulous rest of your day. Sending you much love from the sunny French Riviera. Bye.